Speaking of never getting going, and we're experiencing this, and I thought maybe we'd have a pity party for the Jays and the Orioles after that winter meeting, because the Toronto Blue Jays, while the Boston Red Sox are getting a whole bunch better, and while the New York Yankees are getting a whole bunch better and a lot healthier, and Greg Bird's coming back, the American League East is a dumpster fire if you're anyone other than either of those teams. So, we came away from there with an asset of yours that I'm sure you didn't want, Steve Pierce, while the Boston.
I would have taken him back.
Really?
Taking him back, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But were you unhappy? Were you unhappy with how? Because I saw one of your tweets that says, "Come on, Dan Duquette, do something already."
I mean, you're seeing they've made it pretty clear that they don't have anybody who can hit. They haven't had a leadoff hitter, and for a long, for over a decade probably, a true leadoff hitter. They badly lack a corner outfield who can catch the ball. They need to replace Trumbo and Alvarez and Pierce and. Well, they took a 22-year-old in the Rule 5 draft from, who did really well in the Carolina League for Cleveland. So, yeah. I mean, they took two guys in the Rule 5 draft. They have a guy, Joey Rickard, who took in the Rule 5 draft last year. If that's their answer at outfield, first of all, there's no way all three of them are going to be on the roster. But, Adam Eaton's a guy I really like. I didn't think he would fetch that kind of a haul. So I understand maybe not competing there. But if they're willing to give Trumbo $15 or $16 million a year, to just be a slow-pitch softball player. I don't know why Dexter Fowler at 18 would have been the end of the world. No, there needs to be some creativity, some spark there. It's got to be more than we'll just wait till February and see who falls through the cracks, and maybe we'll find a deal.
You see, and I wonder this though, because we were talking about it this morning, and you listened to Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins, and in your case, Dan Duquette. Talk about what the needs are for this team. You got to get more left-handed, want to get younger, more athletic, all that business. And you go through the winter meetings and you watch teams, in your division do just that and then more. And then you watch your team strike out and you go, am I stuck between it's too early, let's relax, it's only December, and listen, most of the heavy lifting's done, what else is there? You sort of get pissed off with the complacency because you wonder if you're not going to completely rebuild and do what the White Sox are doing, why are we going down this road of being mediocre and trying to look like we're financially responsible? Because I don't know about you, but I'm never going to go to any kind of sporting event and cheer for the most financially responsible team.
Right. Well, and the bigger issue with this team in particular is he came out and said we're not it almost seemed like to be flaunting it. Oh, we're not actively engaged with Manny Machado. I think that's what pissed a lot of people off because they're like, okay, wait a minute. So you're not smart enough or proactive enough or whatever to get out there ahead of the curve and get one of the better corner outfielders via trade and take that Trumbo Alvarez money and repurpose it that way. And at the same time, you're also not going to convince anybody that you're going to re-sign or extend Machado, Scope, Tillman, or Britton. And you're also saying we would never trade Zach Britton or any of our bullpen arms, even though that's the only real strength they have. And they have some pretty good bullpen arms in the minors who are ready to maybe be the next Brad Brock or Michael Givens or Donnie Hart, all these guys who've stepped up the last few years. Then it's almost like, well, why don't you just why don't you be a bear? Why don't you just go to sleep and hibernate through the winter and just see, pop your head up 2 days before spring training and see who's still out there? Because that's basically the signal he's sending. And that's, I think, what's troubling for anybody who's followed this team for any period of time because their reality is between that core. You got Tillman who's got 1 year left, and then you've got, Britton and Machado and Scope have 2 years control left. Of those 4 or 5 players, no one here is convinced they're going to re-sign any more than 1 or 2. And if that's the case, then they need to be trading some of those assets now or before the season, or certainly by the All-Star break, to actually get decent return for them. But he refuses to concede their realities. So that's the mind-boggling thing. Like if Manny Machado doesn't have an extension by the All-Star game, he needs to be traded by the trade deadline.
Right.
Like trade him with a year and a half left and get the most you can get for him. Scope, one of those two between Manny or Scope needs to be signed in the next 8 weeks. Or what are we doing here?
Jason, how angry were you?
Look at these closers. Look at the crazy money for these closers. Somebody would probably give them a haul for Zach Britton to just say we will not even consider listening to him in trade talks is kind of stupid.
How ridiculous was the notion when your general manager says we're not going to sign Jose Bautista because the fans don't like him?
I actually don't mind that one. I told you guys. You guys tried to, what was that, 2 or 3 weeks ago? Trying to tell me they're talking to Batista.
Yeah.
That must be Batista's guy saying that.
Yeah.
Like, I will give, and I don't even know if that's a Duquette thing. I think that's more Buck. Like, there's no way Buck wants that hand grenade dropped in the middle of his clubhouse. Like, you know, especially it's not either going to like if you got the guy for $5 million. You know, I mean, if it was like this ridiculous bargain, that'd be one thing. But he's going to want to be one of the. I mean, maybe Chris Davis would make more than him, but he'd be looking to be the second highest paid player on the team. Like, and he doesn't cure any of their ills. I mean, if that's the case, just give Trumbo whatever his $20 million a year, and at least you know he fits. They need an actual dynamic right fielder who can hit leadoff and get on base 40% of the time and hit 25 doubles and maybe, I don't know, even actually steal 15 bases and be a catalyst. That ain't Batista.
Why we're just sitting here. I'm listening to you, and you sound exactly like I sounded about an hour ago. Where we watch the winter meetings end, and you wonder what the direction of this team is. And the Blue Jays, are still the guys in the walk, right? Like you've got Josh Donaldson for another couple of years. You got Troy Tulowitzki for a few more years. You got Russ Martin for a couple more years. I mean, it's still a good team that can bang some home runs, but at the same time, this lineup doesn't strike fear into the hearts of anybody. You go into those winter meetings, and I think the piss off for us is watching people cheap it. And when I say cheap it, I mean shopping on the periphery. As much as you like Steve Pearce, to me, he's no Edwin Encarnacion, who wants to be here, who was offered enough to be here, gambled on himself and lost. And now the Blue Jays have turned around and said, you know what? We don't want you anymore. And they've said the same thing to Jose Bautista. Bautista's turned around and said, hey, listen, would you entertain me coming back? And they're like, yeah, maybe, but maybe not, because our money is elsewhere at the moment. Now, that money that was elsewhere was Dexter Fowler. Dexter Fowler signs a 5-year, $80 million deal in the middle of the 90s in St. Louis for a physical. Pending that, he will be a St. Louis Cardinal, and we swing and miss again. So then, here we've only ever dealt with sadness, much like yourselves, where, you had a couple of good years. Sure, you won the World Series in 92, 93. But, you sit there and you go, well, the fans have shown up. We have come to the games. You are flush with money. It's not like ownership doesn't have any. Ownership is us, and we know they got lots. So you sort of wonder, well, is the direction of the team and why you're shopping on the periphery to fill, voids and need. Why don't you just decide to trade everybody then, as you pointed out, and start from scratch? Because what I don't like, and we've talked about it this morning, is when they communicate that they've got lots of money and ample money and payroll is going to go up and we're willing to spend, and then they won't go to 16 from 15 million, so Dexter Fowler goes somewhere else. It makes no sense to me.